The Watchtower organization is famous for misleading Jehovah's Witnesses with its end-time prophecies. They have an extensive track record of complete and utter failure. Ever since the very inception of their religion, it was based on the idea that Jesus is coming, the second coming, it's happening very, very soon. And generation after generation of people have come and gone, and they have not seen it. 1914, 1925, 1975, by the end of a generation, inferring something in 2014. All of this demonstrates how willing ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses are in accepting any time the governing body or the leaders of the Watchtower come out and say, hey, this major world event, or oh, this scripture in the Bible, now we are really knocking on Armageddon's door. And yes, these are some of the most important issues for Jehovah's Witnesses because it's all about life or death. Stick with the organization, stick with these goofy predictions that are being made equals life. Don't go with it means losing your family now and not gaining everlasting life in the future. So it is at the very core of every single Jehovah's Witnesses outlook, how they see the world is all intertwined in these end day predictions. Now, with everything going on in the world right now, with a war starting in Europe and the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, Watchtower no doubt comes out immediately and says, hey, look, this is a fulfillment of Bible prophecy. And some other people have made some videos on these. I definitely recommend that you check out Alt-Worldly's Jake's video he did on it. It was very good. And because those ones were out before I recorded mine, I wanted to just take one of the things I was going to talk about in the larger spectrum and maybe just dive into that a little bit more. And that's the paradox of peace and security, how it relates to what's going on and why it's important, because people are getting messages from their family and friends that maybe they haven't spoken to in a long time. And now it's like, oh, this is a sign of the times. You need to come back to Jehovah, which I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be able to come back to him anyway at this point. But no doubt some of you are going to be having those messages, those emails, those phone calls. So this is important maybe to have a few different talking points or questions to ask, or just a different way of looking at the situation entirely. With all of that being said, don't forget to drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into this. Zizi's here, by the way. He's just down over. See? Zizi can. I have a new box and it's sitting there, so if you guys want to see Zizi, I'd have to put the box on the table, but then that'd be weird if the box was here. Anyway, intro. First off, we have to acknowledge what's going on in Ukraine, and I know it doesn't really provide any intrinsic value saying our thoughts and prayers are about as valuable, well, they're least valuable than toilet paper, because at least you can wipe your ass with toilet paper. Oh no. But thoughts and prayers, I don't really know the function of that. But for what it's worth to whoever it's worth it to, our thoughts do go out to the people, hundreds of thousands of people that are getting displaced out of their homes, their businesses, away from their family, everything just turning on its head, bang, overnight. So it's a really horrible situation. So definitely, we should bring that up immediately. Now, what are Jehovah's Witnesses saying with regard to this event that's happened and the world is having to deal with? Well, obviously they go straight into, is this fulfilling prophecy? So if you go and look through Daniel chapter 11 and read through the whole dang thing, it has this battle between the king of the north and the king of the south. And they have this whole timeline that the Watchtower has put together, where they, start back in the Seleucid and the Ptolemaic empires that broke off from Alexander, and how those two divisions somehow some way have some predictive value with what's going on currently in 2022. Does the Bible say that these things are going to happen in 2022?
No.
So that's how they're sort of picturing this. So the problem with that, though, is I find Watchtower always wants things to be getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And yet, when I was thinking about what is going on in the world right now, a phrase that is ubiquitous with anyone that was raised to witness, you have heard this expression, peace and security. Peace and security. This is taken from 1 Thessalonians, oh boy, is it 2 Thessalonians or 1 Thessalonians? I can't remember. It's 1 or 2 Thessalonians chapter 5, and it says, at the time of the end, the nations or the peoples will declare peace and security, but like a thief in the night, Jehovah's day will be suddenly upon them. So they have this idea that there is going to be this massive calling out by all the nations of the world, and they're going to say, yes, finally, we've done it. We've made the world a better place. It is safer. It is more equal. We have a rich, hearty economy. We have lots of international trade and all of the divisions and barriers holding mankind back from being the very best versions of ourselves. We've eliminated all of those, and now we are prosperous. Now, if this ever happened, which it won't, but if this ever happened, the Jehovah's Witnesses would be sitting in dark alleys, like with a full-on cloak, just going turbo like Jedi mode, just sitting there like, oh baby, now they're gonna get it. They think that everything's fine, and now Jesus is gonna come down and blast them all. So, what is significant about this cry for peace and security? Well, you have to kind of understand the broader aspect of why the Jehovah's Witnesses are a doomsday cult. So this will be some serious speed running because most of you already know this stuff, and for those of you that don't, we'll just cover it quickly. So basically, the Jehovah's Witnesses have this narrative in their mind that conditions in the world are going to escalate and continue to get worse and worse and worse, starting with 1914. And they claim that since 1914, the world has progressively gotten worse. I will leave it to you to do your own research and figure out if that claim is true, because it is quite an interesting subject to go into. Or I guess if you'd like to see me do a video on that subject, comment down below and say, hey Wally, do a video on that subject and let's bring in some Steven Pinker or whatever. Anywho, now that I've fully digressed. So they think the world is going to get worse and worse and worse. And then there's going to be this monumental moment where everything is fixed and better, and the nation's like, ha, we figured it out, peace and security. Right after that, like immediately after that, they say a short time. We don't really know what a short time means. A short time to a child can be like 5 minutes. A short time to an adult can be like 5 hours.
Are we there yet?
No!
Are we there yet?
No, we are not.
Are we there yet?
No!
You know, the scaling definitely matters. But anyway, so a short time after the peace and security call, then they feel that the entire world, spearheaded by the United Nations as represented as some beast with multiple heads in the book of Revelation,
You're a monster.
is going to gain enough power, teeth as it were, and once the United Nations gains their teeth, they are going to orchestrate one of the craziest things I can even get my head around, and that is the elimination of all religions in the world. Now, if you wonder, okay, well, how are they going to get rid of all religions in the world? First, you got to figure out what is a religion. Religion and who claims to be a religion and what counts as a religion. It's like watching the high jump in the Olympics, but the bar is invisible. So who jumped the highest? I don't know. What did you think, Bill? So it would be really hard just from that aspect. But also, this isn't going to happen. I can imagine a scenario in which religions potentially like fizzled out, But them being like legislated out of existence, this is just not going to be a thing, and it shouldn't be a thing. This isn't 1984. We don't need to have any thought police and this. So anyway, so once the United Nations, as represented in Revelation by this multi-headed dragon, or not dragon, but some type of beast, goes and turns their attention on all the world's religions and somehow manages to get rid of them all. At that moment, Jesus and his hordes of angels are going to swoop down for the battle of Armageddon. Or is that when the Great Tribulation breaks out? That is the Great Tribulation. And then, so then Jesus comes and they swoop down, swords in hand, their battle axes ready to go, and they just come in and just start blasting people. So once they start blasting people, then bada bing, bada boom, it's going to initiate this 1,000-year period where they're going to clean up the earth and only Jehovah's Witnesses will be left, and they'll bury all of the billions and billions of dead bodies and build a happy new utopia.
What did you say?
I know I said I was going to speedrun, but it's so crazy you at least have to give it the attention that it absolutely deserves. So, where does this thing, what am I on about essentially here? And if you look at this timeline that I've just given, you say, okay, well, I thought you mentioned they say the world is going to continue to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And yet there's going to be this cry of peace and security. What is going on like in this gap? What happens between then? And it is, I think, just a absolute like hole in Jehovah's Witness doctrine that isn't talked about enough. I think it's one of the biggest paradoxes that never gets any coverage, as it were, or people aren't discussing it. So growing up, I was always like, because my parents, and whenever they had the news on, and every 3 months or something, there's a headline, something about the UN getting teeth, which is a huge thing, or the cry of peace and security, which is a common phrase, by the way. So they would say peace and security, and then everyone starts freaking out, like, could it be this? Could it be this? Could it be this? Elders are calling each other, circuit overseer, and the brothers and sisters are no doubt riding into the branch, like, hey, they just said peace and security. Is this the time? So they've gone back on that statement, because before they were really like, man, look out for the cry of peace and security. And then after they've been flooded with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of letters from ordinary Jehovah's Witnesses, they're like, well, it's not just a cry or an announcement of peace and security. It has to be something big. It has to be like actual, like world-changing events. But how does this fit into them wanting to see the world get worse? Because don't get it twisted. Jehovah's Witnesses absolutely enjoy, sit back, eating their popcorn and drinking their Mai Tais, and they want plagues. They want earthquakes. They want war and sickness. COVID and a world war are like a Jehovah's Witnesses' wet dream.
I am so excited, I think I'm gonna explode!
You wouldn't believe how excited they get when things in the world go horribly wrong, because they feel like it vindicates what they've been told by Watchtower. But then at the same time, if things do get better, if things are good, then it just switches and becomes, oh, well, now we're just on the lookout for peace and security. Well, Watchtower, which is it? What? These two things don't exist together, but I do actually have a way out of it. I'll get to that in a second, but these two things can't exist together. You can't always be saying, man, things are so bad, and this is a sign of how close the end is. And then when things are good, oh man, things are getting better and better. This must be the real sign of when the end is, or is about to happen. So it's a fundamental flaw with end time predictions of any kind, but this one appears to be slightly unique to the Jehovah's Witnesses in the fact that it's just an absolute paradox. They've split their brains right in half and say both of these two things exist and we are fine with that. So I think it's interesting from that perspective, because if people are like, oh, well, this war that's happening right now, this is going to be a sign of the times. You could also come back and say, yeah, but there has to be the cry of peace and security. So how long till this thing actually wears out? Is it going to be a Cold War thing where this lasts for 40 years or 50 years? Is this going to be a flash in the pan and we'll be here tomorrow and gone in like 6 months? Obviously not a flash in the pan for those affected by it, but you take my point. What is this going to be? And no matter what the outcome is, we know one thing is true, that the Jehovah's Witnesses and their predictions are wrong.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
Their theology's wrong. The way they put these prophecies together are all fundamentally wrong. And maybe just over here, I'll just have a scrolling list as I make this point. Throughout history, there have been thousands of people, which is surprising, that have made predictions that have all failed. There's a 100% failure ratio for anyone that has given a date or circumstances or anything saying the world is going to come to a absolute destructive event and then faithful people will live on. So why would you put stock in something that has 100% failure ratio? I don't, it literally makes no sense. If you buy a phone from Apple and you plug it in and it's never worked, yet you don't return it, you just keep every day, you just keep plugging it in. Maybe today is going to be the day. Maybe today is going to be the day. Maybe today is going to be the day. Boom. And you keep going and going. I think you're a bit of a psycho. Are you not?
That's the root.
You're not using critical thinking in any way, shape, or form. If you do have any friends, family, anyone that does contact you, why not just show them, just so they can see the visual of, here's all of these people that have been wrong about trying to figure out the end, or claiming the end was coming, or claiming they knew anything about the end of the world or anything supernatural. Just look at all of these claims, and every single one of them was wrong. So what makes your claim special? What makes your claim particularly compelling to you? Is it because it's something you were taught since you were a child? Is it something that you've investigated and there's facts and evidence for? Because if that's the case, show me. Because if it is supported by facts and evidence, I want to know so I can get on board. And it's a simple way, I suppose, of dealing with that. But back to the bizarreness of this whole thing of peace and security. How fast do they think the world can just change totally to a point of we're still getting involved in land wars with rockets and guns and tanks and missiles? We're still using our old reptilian ape brains and hitting each other with clubs and sticks and throwing rocks at each other. Why? Because I want that mango and I want to sleep under that tree. It's a tale as old as time, and I don't know how you think in the flash, the blink of an eye, you are going to get a situation where the world is going to say peace and security. How is that going to happen before this next generation? Like, that's not going to happen in my lifetime. It's just not. So how can my grandparents, how can my parents think that it's going to happen in their lifetime? How delusional do you have to be to actually think that all of the events that they are waiting for and, sitting at the end of their seats like it's the end of Avengers Endgame, and they're just sitting there like, oh, what's going to happen. And it's for something that's the product of mere fiction in a man's brain. Sorry to crack the case wide open for you and do the thinking, but it's nothing more than the fictional, like, whimsy of some influential person's brain. And that's it. So, what do I think is ultimately going to happen to this whole idea of peace and security? I imagine a scenario where they just do the classic. They say, well, when it's saying peace and security, what it really means is it's a cry for peace and security. It's not a declaration of. And see, this Greek word, and if you look at this past participle of this other word 4 chapters back, we can actually read it accurately like this. And I think it's the get out of jail free card they need to get rid of this wild paradox of wanting things to get worse and this insane, asinine idea that the world is going to change overnight in the matter of a couple of years even. But I imagine in their brains it's probably like a couple of months. It's not realistic thinking whatsoever. So I think that's the way out of it. So Watchtower, if you're watching this, I give you my permission. You can use my interpretation of the Bible, and I've given it to you on a silver platter, so you can update your doctrine, and everyone will be happier for it. But yeah, the peace and security thing, that is so wild, and everyone was always hanging on edge, saying things like this might be our last convention, and anytime there's a major world event, they're going to be able to try and find a way to, pack it in the old JW thinking box. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that none of this is real, and maybe we should do what we do on this channel and just have a bit of a laugh with different things. Maybe a little bit of silliness is in order, because when we're talking about, as I described earlier, these beasts from Revelation and glowing eyes and shooting bullets out of their ass, all of this nonsense, it is just like reading Lord of the Rings or something. So maybe we can appreciate it for what it is as far as that goes. Now, how does this affect, though, Jehovah's Witnesses, and how might it affect, I guess, other people that have left? I think it affects Jehovah's Witnesses for reasons I mentioned at the outset. Everything is about what you are willing to give and what you're willing to give up. I think that was a recent thing one of the governing body members said when they're saying, what are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing to give, and what are you willing to give up? And it's all about that fear. Because if the fear isn't ever present, if you're not always having that little burner right under your butt, just like, oh, I can't sit down and get comfortable, then you are going to be able to do more and give more for the organization, and give up more of yourself so that way you can pursue things within the organization. And Watchtower knows that. If they came out and said, well, the end could be like, as Tony Morris suggested he did in the 70s, well, hey, the end could go for another 30, 40 years. If they came out and said that, what would happen? Well, people would stop going. They just would. Like, there's no reason to follow it. It's not, being a Jehovah's Witness isn't easy. It's not comfortable. It's, the more you have interactions with normal human beings in their day-to-day lives, you're like, yeah, this thinking that I have of always being worried about this cataclysm, Armageddon, and this door knocking, and what's all this prophecy? It gets bizarre, and it's not comfortable, but there's that fear in place. And for those that have gotten out of the organization, a lot of times we probably feel that same fear. I know I still have, like, my heart starts pounding at an irrational rate during, like, a thunder or lightning, and I get like this reaction because I remember like crying as a kid whenever there'd be a bad storm, because I thought it was Armageddon and worrying, did I pray every day that week and before every meal, and would Jehovah kill me for that? And that's something you do carry with you, but not to say that it's going to affect your day-to-day life. Like this, don't allow it to be like this big thing where you're in constant fear. Are they right? Are they wrong? Did I make the mistake? You can just get rid of all of that foolishness, and then you can just have a bit of a laugh at yourself that you still get a elevated heart rate whenever you do see a thundercloud, or you hear something on the news like peace and security or anything with the UN. But with all of that good stuff being said, that will end this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. By next time, I mean I'm probably going to just start recording something else. So if you ever see me in this shirt again, then you'll know it was the day I recorded 2 videos. And the next one's actually pretty exciting because it's going to be something along the lines of questions you should ask Jehovah's Witnesses. Basically, sort of, a lot of times people ask me, hey, what are some things that you would recommend or suggest when it comes... It's easy, are you eating cords? No. Okay. When it comes to talking to active witnesses, if you do still have some contact with them. So it's going to basically be a list of some of the questions and why I think they're cool and important. So be on the lookout for that, and looking at this shirt. Once again, I don't know where this is going to end. Do you like my mustache? I did this morning. Pretty cool, right? Okay, that's enough, Wally.